Hi Flosstube, my name is Stephanie and welcome to my channel Stitchin' It. Today's going to be an update video, which I don't do that often, you know, but it's a new year and I've have a few finishes that I'd like to show you, along with wanted to share some plans. I think part of my hesitation to put out a video about my plans at the beginning of the year is I was waiting to see what other people were doing on Instagram, on YouTube, and Facebook, and to see, kind of gauge where I thought I was in the middle of that and what my goals were for the year. I am participating in the Stitch 9 challenge, which I was going to talk a little bit about today. I thought that it was a great manageable goal for someone, and it took me a little while to come up with all 9 of my projects that I was committing to, but I think I did pick some good ideas for my finishes. I'm coming to you today from my stitching spot, which I don't usually film in front of. I spend a lot of time here. This is a recliner that I have, and now that I sit in usually, and I've got a magnifying glass and light above me. So I haven't really talked to you guys since before Christmas, so I wanted to share some of the things that I've finished basically over Christmas vacation. I did get the Color and Cotton Cozy Christmas box for Christmas, and I wanted to make a challenge of it, or a kind of a game for myself to see how much of the box I could use up, within a week or two, Christmas time, whenever I got sick of Christmas, and I couldn't do it. I wanted to make its own video about the box, but there's just so much in there that it takes more than just a week or two to do everything. So I still have a lot of stuff to show you, and that's what I'm going to start with today. Last year I started Plum Street Sampler's 1831 Christmas, and I didn't finish it, but when I finally did get in the Christmas mood this year, I picked it back up and I finished it, and I saved it to go with some of the finishing materials that came in the Color and Cotton box, and I took that and used it to make my first flat fold using the Vonna Pfeiffer tutorial, which I'll link below. And so I wanted to show you what I did for that. This is like I said, by Plum Street Samplers, and I mostly stitched it in hand, which made it go pretty quickly, but I got some uneven tension in the sheep, but let's see, I'll give you a better look. Yep. And I personalized it with this year, of course. Originally in the pattern it said 1831, but I followed the tutorial in the video almost exactly the way that is recommended, and I used the finishing fabric, the cotton fabric that came in the Cozy Christmas box, and I made cording myself out of 2 different colors of DMC, and I used some of the rusty snowflakes that came in the Color and Cotton box, and I love it. I mean, yeah, it made such, it turned out really beautiful, and it went perfectly, and I finished this as a flat fold, I think, on New Year's Eve. So I kind of, it made a great activity for me to do for the New Year's end, I guess, so. Alright. After I got some experience making the flat fold, I kind of learned, I kind of improvised a hanging ornament for this next finish, and this is called Amazing Star, and what I really tried to do was see how many ornaments I could stitch from the 3 Just Cross Stitch magazines that I have from the last 3 years. So I think this one's from 2016, but it's called Amazing Star, and it is on my Instagram. But I used the green silk from the box, and also this gold color is the cotton from the box, and the red fabric is from the box. And I got the 32 count box this year, so I improvised all the little beads that I already had in my stash for snowflakes, and I thought they turned out pretty good. But I sort of made a cutout template out of the mounting board, and laced it on one side, and I had attached batting to it on the other side, and I used the velveteen that came in the box and the rickrack that came in the box, and yeah, it turned out pretty, very pretty. So I think I might still try to put like a white ribbon or maybe some jingle bells up at the top, something like that. But that is the other completely finished object that I made over Christmas. And I have a couple more ornaments that I stitched. Actually, I have a few more ornaments. And using the materials again that came in the box. This was the very first one I stitched on Christmas, and here we go. This is the very first one I stitched using all the colors from the Christmas box, and this is by Pickle Barrel Designs, and it came out of this year's Just Cross Stitch magazine, and I thought it was so cute. I don't know how I'm going to finish it yet though. Maybe as a pillow or just as a small. But I do know how I'm going to finish this one. And this one I think was in the 2017 issue. And it's by Ink Circles. And I used the silks that came in the box. And what I'd really like to do is make it a two-sided ornament. So I'd like to stitch it again. Using the same colors but just a different design, and I like to do something similar to what I did with the other hanging ornament I made, except finish it on a diagonal, hang it on a diagonal and do some cording around and have a tassel off the bottom. But I have to stitch another side, and this is another one I did, and this is by Kathy Haberman, and I think this one's from the 2016 issue. And again, except for I pulled black and white from my stash to use, but the rest of the colors came all from the box, and I've still got plenty of thread to use. I've also got another start on something called, I think it's called the Cardinal's Cheer, and it's going to be a house with some trees on it, and I've still got some fabric left of both colors, so I'd like to make it kind of a regular thing, to keep stitching Christmas, so I have some more, some more finishes to display by the Christmas time next year. And so my plans are to try to keep this together. It's still in the box, but I'd like to get some sort of Christmas themed project bag to go with it, and keep adding a little bit to it here and there, and keep kind of Christmas going whenever I get the mood. After Christmas, I really started to try to concentrate on finishing up some whips from last year. I counted them yesterday, and I'm up to 25 active projects, and it's actually because I've finished some, and I have UFO'd here a couple that that I didn't count towards active whips. And I'm kind of comfortable with 25. If you have 25 things that you really, really like, then you have a lot of things to choose from. And I feel like I've categorized them now, and organized them in such a way that that it's no big deal. It's really no big deal. And especially this year, I hope to have, I'm set up for a lot of finishes because, you know, I have things that I've started last year and I'm gearing up towards that. So one of my first projects that I wanted to pick for the Stitch 9 challenge and to try to finish was a Dimensions kit that I started in 2017. And I guess the motivating factor was also it's supposed to be a gift, so I really just needed to finish it up. So I wanted to share it with you today. I have finished and framed it now, and this is the Dimensions Gold Petite collection kit called A Tuscan View. So, well, we'll start back here so you can see kind of, it's in a 5x7 photo frame. And, you know, I really like the way it looks from arm's length. It looks fantastic. You know, it looks very much like a painting, a very picturesque setting out a window. And it was really, I was reluctant to finish it because at first, you know, once it started to take shape, I wasn't sure, you know, before all that back stitching went in there, basically it kind of looked pretty muddled, and it wasn't coming out the way I had thought that it was going to come out. But once the back stitching was in there, you know, it really offset everything nicely. And I also like how this is stitched on 18 count. And so there's a lot of half stitches in there, which give it almost a needlepoint look. When I took this to the EGA and I showed them, there was one lady who's all into needlepoint, and she was very surprised and very, you know, liked the shading a lot. You know, she was surprised when it was a Dimensions kit, you know. So I would say, you know, don't discount the Dimensions kits, you know, especially those gold collections. They turn out very beautiful. And like I said, this is supposed to be a gift for some friends of ours who are going to be celebrating their 48th anniversary in just a few weeks. And I personalized the wine bottle with their marriage date year on there. So I'm very excited to give it to them. And since I'm not going to have a chance to display it in my home for very long, I'm also very excited to have it on video. So that was my my most recent finish and the first off of my Stitch 9 challenge. So what's up next? That will be my Alessandra Adelaide project, Flower Lace Heart. And again, this is one that's done with satin floss that I found on clearance, and I wanted to try it on something. You know, the marked variegation is just really what thrills me about it. And when you look, I really wish that it could translate well on camera. But when you look at it up close, especially with the 2 strands on the 32 count, the satin floss just looks so shiny and so pearly. I think someone commented on Instagram it almost looks like beads, because it really just pops up and gives a lot more dimension to the piece, you know. I mean, the stitches themselves than just plain cotton thread. So what makes this piece pretty difficult is everywhere you see brown or solid pink, that is where I have started and ended a thread. and I go from brown to white to pink to white to brown. And I clipped where the pink and the brown join. That is where I clip the thread every single time, so I get the same variegation on every single design that I do. And so yeah, it's coming out really nice. And I'm worried about the amount of thread that I have. You know, it's going to be close. I'm trying to be very, very, very frugal with it. And if I make any mistakes, I get kind of upset because I don't know where I'm going to get more floss if I run out. Yet. I mean, it's obviously the answer is the internet, but where on the internet, you know? So, okay. So that is, I'm planning to finish that in February. And then I'm just going to run quickly through my other Stitch 9 challenge pieces. I don't think I necessarily need to show some of them to you because I haven't really worked on them this year yet. But I'll insert a picture of the same picture that I put on Instagram if it helps. But in March I'm going to try to finish Birds to the Boughs, and I'm getting geared up towards it. You know, it's getting really close to spring, or at least longing for spring. So I want to finish that in March. Now after March, I don't have plans necessarily for to finish something every month. That's why I was kind of slow to get my Stitch 9 projects out, I guess. But I am going to be working on the Time Traveler. What I found basically was I've been trying to do Mirabilia on Monday, and I've been making a little bit of progress here and there, but I wanted to keep up Mirabilia Monday for the Stitch 9 thing, but both of my Mirabilias, they're really big. So I switched to the Time Traveler, a Joan Elliott, just because she's a much smaller piece, and it's for my daughter, so I would like to get it finished. So instead of Mirabilia Monday now, we're trying to do Time Traveler. I'll show pics of these, but I don't think I'm just gonna, like I said, I'm not gonna just hold them up right now because I haven't really worked too much yet on them. But I'm also going to be working on the Greyhound piece that I am trying to complete for my aunt, and Ambrosia Honey, so I can have one canvas piece in there to work on because I really do like canvas work. And then I'm going to try to aim to complete the top half of His Eyes on the Sparrow. And I have the band sampler with the EGA that I'm about to start. Our first meeting is sometime soon. And then for another small, easy to get to piece, you know, is a Stitcher's House, I think is what it's called. Stitcher's House by Stone Street Stitchworks. And those are my Stitch 9 challenge pieces. Now, I also wanted to update you guys on basically my Dimensions cross stitch planner that I have been using since I got it, and it's been about, January's not even over, so I've been using it for about 2 weeks. And what I started doing was to try to track. That was my first goal, was to try to track exactly how much time I spend stitching from day to day, because I'm just kind of generalizing it whenever I say what my goals are or what I do or whatever it is. And I realized that there are times when I have a lot of interruptions and I get interrupted and I may or may not return to my stitching, and I don't know exactly what I'm doing. So what I did for the first 2 weeks is I wrote down I would write down my whip that I was working on, and I'm trying to both limit and, you know, try to do 3 whips per day. And so first I would write down my whip, and And then I would put these check marks underneath it, okay? And each check mark represents 15 minutes of uninterrupted stitching time. I mean, uninterrupted. If my phone goes off, unless it's an emergency, anything, I don't even look at it, you know, unless somebody really needs my attention for those 15 minutes, you know, a small increment. That is what I get. So I counted how many check marks that I got on average, and usually I got about 7 to 8. 7 or 8 probably. But my personal goal after tracking is to try to get 10 check marks a day, which translates to 2.5 hours of solid stitching time. And I think in, you know, for everything that I have going on, that's pretty reasonable, and that's pretty, that's a lot. That is a lot. That doesn't count planning time. That doesn't count Flosstube time. It's just solid stitching. And it also made me conscious of how many interruptions, how many times I do interrupt myself. Because there were times when I did not earn a check mark because I realized 5 minutes into my timer that I had gotten up and wandered off, or picked up my phone and started looking at Instagram or something, and I didn't get through the 15 minutes, so I didn't earn the check mark, you know. So it's both a discipline system, and part it was just to really realize where is that time going, you know. So I will continue to do that, and yeah, it's been a great tool so far. So that's how I'm using the planner. So that's a rough plan for the first part of 2019 and the Stitch 9 challenge. What I'm trying to stick to, you know, as far as trying to get some finishes out. And I'm on a roll already, I feel like. So I thank you guys for watching. Probably the next video I want to do is a stitch with me, because I haven't done one of those in a while. And yeah, I think that's about it, and I hope to see you guys soon. See you later.